still rolling up Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a
So either way, all right. So now that we've got everybody at 100% on our audio, including we got Shaun with us now.
Yeah.
Up here, Mr. Shaun Diesel.
Drinking his protein powder.
Snort the protein powder. You know, direct line to the brain.
Do Iron Man shots.
Yeah. So either way, so this episode was actually going to be a little bit different because, like, we started out talking about our weeks and stuff like that, and then talking about Mandalorian and whatnot.
We never started talking about our weeks.
We started to, and then
kind of,
I mean, we sort of rolled into it. It just didn't get very far. But Shaun actually had an idea that he wanted to kind of execute. So he went so far as to buying a microphone and everything so that he could sound good on the podcast here.
Oh, fancy bitch.
Yes. Actually, because you never truly explained it to us, what do you have in mind? Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that.
So now everybody turn your head and cough.
Bless you.
Drop them. So I've known you, Shoki,
yeah,
the longest and the best out of everybody.
I'm the best. You heard it. You heard it. You heard it. I'm the best.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, he knows what's up. Anyway, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to really dive into Rikki and Dusty.
Dusty,
Rusty the mechanic.
Rusty.
and I wanted to get to know you. I wanted to get to know what started it all as a kid and why. And I think I've asked Shoki this before, but I really don't remember his answers. But I have some specific questions that I would like to see if you guys can answer about it.
Cool. So you basically just want to, we're going to go like interview style podcast from not the main host. So this would be interesting. So good. Then we will give the floor to you then. And we're here to answer your questions.
All right. I'm going to start with Rikki because I think he might be the most curious. So you still there?
A little bit curious.
He's bi-curious. It's fine.
Yeah, Ricky's camera's frozen on my eyes. Anyway,
it happens.
All right, Rikki. So what is the earliest memory of any kind of pop culture thing you can think of, from comics, movies, toys, cartoons? What's your earliest one?
I'm gonna have to probably say it would be like either, in my head, it's one of three things: the original Doctor Who, Star Trek, the original Star Trek, or Ewoks Battle for Endor.
Oh wow!
Because those all kind of happened around the same time for me, and it was all my best friend growing up. His dad was a huge sci-fi nerd, and used to have us all into that when we were younger. So I'm guessing I was probably about 4 or 5, and just all that kind of blends together in my head.
Okay. How about you, Rusty?
I seem to remember somewhere in like kindergarten or grade 1, it was like the end of the school year or something, and the teacher decided that we would watch Empire Strikes Back, and I had not seen Star Wars. And I barely remember the movie. I barely remember that instance of watching the movie, but I remember, like, I must have come home and told my mom about this movie, right? It was, oh, the teacher let us watch this movie. It was about outer space, blah, 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 blah. And so for my 10th birthday, she actually took me and a bunch of my friends to see Return of the Jedi in the theaters. And that's probably my 2 earliest memories that are very vague to me. But I do remember, like, Saturday morning cartoons for me was where I think most of my nerddom came from, right? Like G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, Master of the Universe, Thundercats, right? All that stuff. I remember getting up in the morning before my parents got out of bed, going downstairs, make myself a bowl of cereal, sitting down on the floor, turning on the TV, to the point where mom comes down. She's like, "You're sitting too close to the TV." I'm right here, right? That's that I think is my earliest memory of any of that stuff is Saturday morning cartoons. But I do remember the Star Wars stuff.
Awesome. What about you, Shoki?
If I had to think about it realistically, because I don't remember watching a lot of like proper cartoons as a kid, but I had VHS tapes. So I had a few G.I. Joe and a few Transformers VHSs. and then Thundercats as well. So I had like 1 or 2 tapes from all of those. But I know like one of the biggest media influences that I can remember as a kid outside of that was going to see The Land Before Time. Like that was literally
Yep.
the first movie I ever saw in theaters. And I remember it mostly because it was a last minute decision because we were supposed to go see Otis and Company? No. What
Oliver
and
and
Company.
Company.
What? Oh, Milo and
Oh,
Otis
okay.
crossing over the wrong cat
Mhm.
and dog thing.
Mhm.
I was like, why did I say
Lady and the Tramp.
Lady and Tramp? Lady and the Tramp.
Mhm.
There we go. But yeah, no. So we were supposed to go see Oliver and Company, but they were sold out when we went. And then The Land Before Time was available. This is, of course, way back in the '80s, whenever you had to go to the theater to purchase tickets, when you wanted to see the shit. So
Was it Burger King and McDonald's had the Land Before Time cup toppers? I remember getting all
probably
those
Burger
fucking
King.
things.
Probably Burger
Yeah.
If
King.
I had, because I usually
Yeah.
had the cool stuff
Mm.
like that. But that would be my earliest, because that was one of the few movies I saw when we still lived in Houston proper, where I originally grew up. And I think, what was I, like 5 at that point, and then we moved when I was 6. So yeah, those would be my earliest things. The GI Joe / Transformer / Thundercats tapes, and then like we didn't even have like Disney didn't do like the big VHS releases until later.
Yeah.
Like, so
Right.
that was pretty much how that worked out. And then I guess the old there was other kind of like no name brand cartoons as well that I had on VHS. I don't even know where they came from. They were just, it's these things that like I have no idea when we bought them. They just existed in my childhood. It's like I don't remember
Mhm.
asking for it. I don't remember receiving it. It was just there and I consumed it. It's literally like go back so far. It's like I don't even know how this ended up in the house, but here we go.
Yeah. Like all that
Awesome.
stuff was like hot on the heels of those movies. I just remember those things with Mark being the things that really piqued my interest into paying attention past just the visuals of it, like actually paying attention to the
To the
stories
actual
and stuff.
story, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like, even though I was a kid, I was 3 years old when the Transformers the movie came out. It wasn't until like a little bit later,
Fucking
the
baby.
VHS release, when I actually saw it for the first time.
See, that's the same way I was, because you and I are pretty much the
Yeah,
same
you're
age.
just barely
I was,
younger. Yeah.
yeah, I was 3 when that came out. I had no idea it was in the theaters in a small town.
Hmm.
That would have never hit our theater. We did have a theater back in the day. But the way I saw it was renting it on VHS at
Oh
Pick a
yeah,
Flick,
yeah.
which I would have been 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that area,
Mhm.
is when I had a chance to go pick a movie and rent it. And I love Transformers, so I would get that in the movie, and that's the only way I knew about it. So like when I came into it, we were already in season 3 by the time I had memories of it,
I'm
because we're a
sorry.
little younger than y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
rough place to jump in, man.
So reverse the question to you then. What was your earliest nerd media experience?
So nerd, or like a pop franchise of the 80s, is actually the Centurions.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
That's the
Oh yeah, yeah.
earliest thing I can remember. So I asked my mom about this just the other day to see if I could, check my memory to make sure it's half-ass decent. And I asked her, and she said, your first love was Centurions. That's all
Nice.
you wanted to see on TV. That's the toys that you had, and that's what you played with. And then all of a sudden, this thing called Transformers came on one day,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then that took over everything. You no longer cared about anything else, but you wanted to see that, and you wanted to play with those toys that we ended up getting you.
Huh.
Yeah.
See, I missed the boat on Centurions, or it was just a selective thing. Like maybe it happened and I just
Ooh,
barely
no.
missed it, and so the other ones took over.
All
So,
that mid to late 80s stuff, I was hardcore into all of it when it came out, because like I
Yeah.
said, my thing was
Well,
like early
you
80s,
got
like
3
83,
years on
84.
3 years on us.
Well,
Well, however
yeah.
old Rusty is, we don't actually know.
You don't
He's
know
got
that.
75 years on me.
Yeah.
so
Rusty's been in
He's
Parliament.
just well preserved in the snow up there.
yeah.
It's the booze and the snow. Keeps them fresh.
Keeps him young.
My
Keep,
my liver is
it
good.
keeps his cheese bags
Mhm.
fresh.
Jeez.
Ugh, gross. So let me ask you guys this, and see. I want to see if it ties into something later. What is the first? Well, you already answered it, but the other guys, what was the first movie you remember seeing in theaters?
Yeah, so for me it was Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Hmm.
Which is crazy
And you?
in 1983. Yeah.
I told you he's old.
Yeah. We know he's old.
When he was like 10 in
Shit.
Yeah, but
83.
he's metric old.
What year did Land Before Time come out? Was that 86? 87?
86 or 87, probably, yeah.
So it wasn't that, because I
No.
definitely saw Transformers in the movie.
Oh, yeah, it would have to be, yeah. It would have had to have been.
But I know I saw stuff in theaters before
Canadian
then.
Google machine, do your job.
Probably one of the...
Land of Time?
Hey, when did Temple of Doom come out?
That was 80...
That would be 80...
I want to say 85, 86.
It was either that or the Transformers the movie. One of those two was one of the first movies I remember seeing in theater, whichever one came out first.
Land Before Time would have been 87 or 88, because I was, like I said, we were still in Houston.
Oh man, I don't want
it was one of those. It was whichever one of those came out first. That was the first one I remember being in theaters, because I remember both of them, and because I remember my mom being oopsie about Temple of Doom, because she thought it was going to be more.
Sorry, Land Before Time was 1988.
See, I was 5, so I was right. Yeah, it was before we moved. See, it's like I'm good enough in remembrance. Like I knew we lived in Houston, and we hadn't moved yet, because we moved when I was 6.
I remember her being.
Temple of Doom was 84.
So Temple of Doom would have been the first one I saw in theaters, and I only vaguely remember because my mom was super upset because she thought it was going to be like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it ended up being like Temple of Doom instead. So she was not expecting that. And my mom was super into religion at that point in our lives, and it was no bueno. Like, it was not good.
No.
So let me talk on that for a minute. When you just said your mom was super into religion, mine was too. Like she was Pentecostal, and I'm talking like no makeup, do not cut your hair, you do not wear jewelry. The only jewelry you're allowed to wear is your wedding band. You wear dresses down to your ankles. You don't watch TV. You don't listen to music that's not gospel or anything of the church, right? So, and like boys, being boys, our hair must be kept short all the time. We couldn't wear shorts. For some reason, we always had to wear pants. And she was really, so my dad was not into this at all. And he's like, you live your life the way you want to, but I'm going to live mine. But so we had TV in the house, and dad would have his HBO and whatnot. But mom was very particular about the things that we could watch and consume. But she would give us some leeway on like the cartoons and Disney stuff.
Because it's wholesome.
Yeah, especially back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, think about how easy that stuff was. I mean, the hardest thing you ever saw was Bambi's mom getting blasted. And you really didn't see it.
Dude,
you
know that changed so many people's lives.
Right.
That affected me more than Optimus dying.
I mean,
really?
But you got to think,
that Optimus dying, it was a robot. Like, I never got that connection that everybody got from that, because he was always a robot. So I never had that, like, a robot can't really die. A robot just turns off. You know what I mean? Like, I get.
He had a soul.
Now later
Ricky.
we're old. Later we're older and we understand the difference between a robot and a sentient being. I get that now, but as a kid, it was a robot.
Ricky wasn't listening.
Like, how many times did I see C-3PO turned off and R2-D2 turned off, and they would turn right back on whenever somebody needed them? So that's in my head. That's all it was. They just turned his ass off.
But because Ricky didn't know what sentient being meant back then.
No, I was just more
freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
About cartoon robots dying.
But actually, the funny thing is, I saw Land Before Time before I saw Bambi. So I saw
Land Before Time fucked me up, man.
So I mean, I saw
Littlefoot's
Littlefoot's mom dying was preempted Bambi's mom dying. So I had slightly different trauma there. All right, so sorry. Continue with your thing, Shaun.
Sorry, Shaun.
So Ricky mentioned his mom being very religious at the time. Did that influence her to influence you in a certain way of anything that was 80s and 90s?
Not really, because like the only thing so yes and no, because she would go through peaks and valleys of this stuff. Like, we always went to services and stuff like that, and always had a belief code in the house. It's just she would go through peaks and valleys at how militant she was about it. I remember to this day, I was in 3rd grade. So what is that? 88, 89, somewhere in there. She came up with this book, and most of y'all might have heard of it. It was in one of the 80s books. It was called Turmoil in the Toy Box. Oh. It was written by like a preacher or a preacher's wife or a psychologist or some bullshit. And it was about how all these toys that kids had nowadays were evil and making kids evil. And I remember my mom made me sit down and read this fucking book. And then she made me go through my toy box and toss out anything that was mentioned in this fucking book. And when I tell you that this book had fucking Cabbage Patch dolls in there. So they somehow made Cabbage Patch dolls evil. And so of course my
They were
He-Mans were
idols.
gone, and I had every He-Man, everything He-Man ever made. I had that motherfucker. I had old school original run Star Wars figures, some of them still on card back. I mean, like in boxes. I had a Tauntaun still in box. Like all that shit went out. G.I. Joe was gone. Thundercats were gone. Like everything was gone. And then my mom pops up all of a sudden with some new action figures for me. She'd gone to a local Bible store. Now all of a sudden I had a John the Baptist and the fucking this, that, and another. A Moses with his plastic 10 Commandments that you could take apart like God broke them. It was fucking crazy.
And now you can have those again.
Yeah, well, but I remember her doing all that, and then like 6 months later, I'd get more G.I. Joes or more Transformers or something. Like, so she went through these peaks and valleys with it. But her hard rule, and it's one that I followed through even with my kids, I've talked about it before, is the human on human violence. That is one thing she was never okay with when I was a kid. So when you had, she wanted to fight against G.I. Joe for a long time because they were human versus human.
Yeah.
And then I would make the argument that half of them were robots or androids, and none of them could fucking hit each other. They always shot rocks, or they shot the plane, or they shot everything but the person right in front of them. And so she finally let that
up
one
until
slide.
the movie.
Well, even then they fixed it with the he's just in a coma. Yeah. I mean, so even that they fixed.
Bloody
but
coma.
A lot of stuff I got away with when she was going through those big, huge, the devil's gonna get you phases, was through my uncle. My uncle was like the father figure in my life, my Uncle Paul. And to the point that I remember when Mortal Kombat, the movie, came out, my grandmother was still alive, and she lived here in where I live at, and we'd come to visit, and there's a little movie theater in a strip mall right in front of her house. And my Uncle Paul is like, hey man, we're bored, we're all just sitting around here. I'm gonna take Ricky and we're gonna go over here and we're gonna go see Lion King, because they were playing Lion King.
Oh, that's right. You've told this story.
Okay.
You told this story a few weeks ago. Yeah.
To some of us, yeah. But then when we get over there, he gets us tickets to Mortal Kombat instead.
Nice.
And he goes, if you tell them that I took you to see this movie, it will be the last time that I ever do something cool like this with you.
He was a cool uncle.
So we had to go back
magazines too.
Oh, like in a heartbeat, like would not have hesitated at all.
Everybody needs uncles like this. Everybody.
Like
Never
he's
had
the
one
one.
like that.
He's the
Me
one.
neither.
He's the one that ruined horror movies for me. And not in a bad way. It's just I used to have night terrors when I was like real young.
Same.
Like he was in the Navy. He was at Cecil Field in Jacksonville. And my mom was going through some medical issues, and being a single parent mom, she asked him if I could go stay with him for a little bit while she healed up and stuff. And so I went and stayed with him and his roommate Kevin. And like I used to have night terrors, and I was sleeping in his room with him. You know, it was a 2-bedroom apartment. You know, they just lived off base. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. So I would sleep in the room with him. And of course, now looking back 30 years ago, I realized that when he had friends over, I would always end up sleeping on the couch watching TV. So that back then I didn't know the difference. I was just on the couch, you know, camping out watching movies.
Yeah.
But freaking I would have accidents, man. We're talking 4 or 5 years old. I'd have a scary dream. I'd piss the bed. And he got tired of that shit. He got tired of being a grown-ass man waking up with pissed on blankets.
Yep.
Which I get 1000%. I get it.
Where's that high-pitched sound coming from? Did anybody else hear that?
I heard it.
It's like crickets out here, whatever the fuck these things are going nuts right now.
Yeah,
it goes up and down. Yeah,
cicadas
right there.
Is it cicadas?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Probably.
Yeah, because it's like it just comes across as a high-pitched sound every now and then. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it's whatever bugs are out there right now because the heat's coming back, so they're all coming back out.
Weird.
But I remember one time he finally sat me down. It was Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I believe, the one where they were in the insane asylum.
Yeah, I think
and
that's right.
It was either 2 or 3, and he sat me down with it. And you know, of course, scary shit would start happening. He'd pause it. He'd be like, "You see how Freddy Krueger looks slightly green compared to everything around him?" He's like, "That's because that's called a green screen." And then he'd break down what a green screen was. And then like when the head out of the TV, you know, the monster part, he's like, "See that? That's called claymation. They just built that out of clay and had a little robot underneath it." And da, da, da. So from that point forward, I couldn't take a scary movie serious. Like to this
He
day,
ruined it for
the
you.
only thing that'll get me in a scary movie is a psychological thriller where I think, okay, human beings are really that piece of shit. They will really act like that.
Yep.
And jump scares. And those are the only things that ever get me. And jump scares is just literally because it's a jump scare. I don't get scared. I'm just scared for that instant.
Yep.
And then the psychological thrillers will just get me in my head thinking about pieces of shit in this world and how it could be that way. Other than that, I'll fucking eat a fucking ketchup slathered steak that's cooked rare in front of fucking Saul. Like that shit doesn't faze me at all. I look for the fake parts of
That's
it.
not
Like
even.
my brain
That's
just
not
does
even
it automatic.
horror. That's just
Gore.
torture porn.
Yeah, but like stuff like that. So he's that uncle. You know, he used to have this, like, we drive down the street and he was the guy who'd lean out the window, look at the shitter on that critter. You know, he's that guy.
So Ricky's uncle was the exact opposite of his mom.
Yes, in all
Right.
ways possible.
Yeah.
And so I had him
by the
around.
way, was your uncle your mom's brother or your
Yes,
your
her
dad?
younger brother.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I never had, like, literally I ran, like, most people know the story. Like when I first met the ROC people up in Baltimore, I ran into a guy and found out later once I was back home that he was actually my younger brother, and I didn't know it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's a hell of a
biologically.
story. Yeah, we need to retell that one day here because we haven't heard that here.
We'll sit down and record it. And like that's the first person outside of the sperm donors, mom and dad. I remember they used to, my Grammy and Grampy, they would come down and visit. They had an RV and they would come down and visit always up till I was about 6 or 7. I remember talking to them and them coming to visit. But other than that, I never talked to anybody on that side of the family. So definitely my mom's brother.
Yeah.
And yeah, he actually moved down here to Florida a couple years back. He only lives about an hour north of me now. So
That's crazy.
still
Your
see him every
uncle?
once in a while.
Or okay,
Yeah.
just making sure because pronoun game. You got when you say he and
You talking about the sperm donor?
well, I know that situation, but I didn't know if you were talking about your brother or
the
your
sperm donor
uncle.
only lives an hour and a half that way and has for 25 fucking
Yeah.
years. So
I was just making sure because
yeah.
you referred to so many guys. I just wanted to make sure which he you were referring to.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that's part of that whole story. But
Yeah, we'll tell that whole shebang one day. That'll be interesting.
But yeah, so he was the guy who always got me away with that stuff, and he definitely turned into getting me stuff like that. My aunt, my mom's older sister, she would too. I had pictures because when all that went down with my mom's medical stuff, I stayed part of 1 year with my aunt in Tallahassee, and then the other part of the year with my uncle in Jacksonville. So I actually have pictures in her house with my cousin Sam was like a newborn. Like he's in his crib in the picture. And I had the was it Sky Commanders, the ones where they had the backpacks that went along the strings.
It sounds
yeah.
about right.
I think it's Sky Commanders. I could be wrong, but it's something like
Where you
that.
hooked up the string
And-
across the room and sent them. Yeah.
And then he ran their backpack across
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have a picture of me doing that. It's attached to the crib, run across to a nightstand, and me about to put the guy on it and drop it down. My aunt had took a picture. I didn't know I was sitting in there playing with my toys, and she just took a picture of it. I actually have that picture around here somewhere. So I was very much into it from Jump Street. My mom was just in and out of it.
Oh my god, those things are so silly.
And what are
the actual Sky Commanders?
You watch your whore mouth. They better bring those back. I want somebody to redo those.
No, okay, so you remember the toy? Did you see the cartoon?
Nobody cares about the fucking cartoon.
The cartoon looks ridiculous.
Dude. So, anyways, I remember we were just talking about this on
the toys are cool though.
Too long ago, maybe on one of the hangouts, but I remember having a bunch of them and trying to purposely make them jump strings, like instead of just sliding it straight down and then continuing with the gameplay, like my story in my head. I would do stuff like try to spin it around so it would fly off.
Yeah.
And I would watch where it went, and then I would run somebody else's string there because I wanted it to fly off that one and land on that one. Or I'd make it come down at an angle so that it hit another string and it would pop off onto that one and keep going. Like I used to do all kinds of crazy shit like that, like doing Rube Goldberg devices.
Dude, this is a lost toy line, man.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. That and Exo Squad. I had all them
great.
Yeah,
dude. All these toys, like I had them all. Like I was the oldest grandchild. So my Nana very much spoiled me. Like it was never a doubt. If I wanted it, all I had to do was Nana, and then boom, I had it. It was a done deal. That's why I still have my animated series Batmobile from when I was a kid. That's in my kids' collection now. I have another one still in box in my garage because I'd said I wanted a Batmobile. my aunt bought me one and my grandma bought me another one. Got them both for Christmas or my birthday that year, and I've just always kept one in box.
Nice.
So I still have one that I've had in
That's
box
awesome.
since it came out.
So
So I was very spoiled. I will freely admit that because I was the oldest grandchild by a lot. My cousin Sam is the second grandchild, and I think I had him by 6 or 7 years. So I was around for a while getting
you're the
whatever I
old
wanted.
fuck.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I had it all, man. All these toys that we sit back and nostalgically talk about now, I had bare minimum at least 2 or 3 from any given toy line. And some of the toy lines, I had them maxed out. Like I had everything you could get from them.
Sweet.
Gee, I wonder where all our
Yeah.
our collection ideas came from.
Yeah, like mine 1000% is nostalgic based, and it's based on stuff that was given to me. It was based on memories that I have of them. A few of them are things that I couldn't get, which were again very few and far between, because up until my cousins and stuff were born, it didn't matter the price. Nana would just get it for me. After that, when I have like 4 and 5 cousins, you know, she's having to split her money a little differently. It wasn't that easy, and my mom being a single parent mom, it was never going to happen. So there are a few of the bigger things that I missed along the way, but now I can replace them with stuff that I can buy with my own money now. So
Okay.
very much
So-
it did affect, but not for an extended period of time. Like I was saying, like winding way back to your question, it would come in little shots.
Right,
And then
yeah.
eventually she got past it, and then it was just nothing. Then she didn't care.
So it was kind of the same for me. So if there was anything that was good versus evil, which is
Mhm.
G.I. Joe, Transformers,
Mhm.
Thundercats, everything was good versus evil, right?
Mhm.
So my mom would give me leeway on good versus evil because she thought it was teaching a lesson, right?
Mhm.
But later on in the 90s, there were some other things like Mortal Kombat. When that came around, I could have nothing to do with that. I couldn't watch people playing a video game. There's no
Yep.
way in hell I would be able to play it, or she would get pissed off, right? And there
Yep.
was a few other things like that that was just crossing the line for her
Mhm.
on my end. But it is curious. I always like to know, especially, you know, way back then and being around in the South, you know, the Bible Belt and all that stuff.
Mhm.
You know, them Bible thumpers, man, it was pretty crazy. So I always like to ask this to get to know someone. Did your parents, did your mom, your dad, did the religion aspect of the household ever affect how you were growing up, you know, with pop culture things, you know, toys, comics, movies?
It did. Now that we're talking about this, you just made me think of something. Like, you know, when we were kids, they had the lightsabers and the laser pistols and all that stuff. And when my mom went into one of her kicks after we had to toss everything out, and I got all the Jesus and Moses characters and all that stuff, I used to like running around with my suits and playing with like cosplaying. I guess they'd call it cosplaying now. I was like LARPing as a kid, back before it was a thing. She went out, and I'll never forget this. In the Bible, they talk about having the whole armor of God or whatever, like the helmet of salvation and the sword of this and that. She got me a whole thing. Like it was like this whole night. Like it was like, I bet you it was a KO that this Christian company had found like one of those night Halloween outfits.
Yeah.
And then they just put a sticker on the shield that said salvation, and the helmet that said love, and the sword that said this.
It was probably Saint
whatever the
Seiya.
things they say in the Bible. It was those. And I remember having to play with those, and then I remember being mad because I couldn't be a knight because I had all this crazy shit on here that wasn't like, nothing I knew about knights ever had like words and stuff on their shields and helmets and stuff. So I pried them off one time, and my mom got mad as hell. I do remember that. Now I'm sitting here thinking about it. That's crazy. Damn, I haven't thought about that shit in forever.
He had religious
man.
toys.
Yeah, I did.
I don't
religious LARPing toys.
Hey,
It's fucking crazy, man.
compared to the stuff that we talked about the other week with the new religious toys coming out, that's okay. The
Dude,
crucify your own Jesus toy is a little weird. I want to talk about that more in depth on a different day, because that line is so strange.
What was it? The Super Book or the Bible cartoons?
I was just gonna talk about that.
They made action figures out of those. I had those toys.
So it's funny that you said Superbook, right? So when my mother's mother, my grandma, the only one I really interacted with as a child, because my dad's mother is a fucking evil bitch. Anyway, so the only thing we were allowed to watch at her house was Superbook on VHS.
Oh wow!
You remember Salty the Songbook?
I don't remember that.
No,
it was supposed to be like Barney, but it was a big songbook. They used to sing Christian songs all the time.
What?
Nobody wants to see that shit.
Okay, so hold on. Maybe this will blow your mind. They still have Superbook.
Yeah, I've
It's
seen
still
it.
They've
going.
updated it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like
Yeah.
Remember the
it's
what was it? The
CG.
Great Adventures. Remember the Great
Yeah.
Adventures? The VHSs. They were like the
Yes.
gray paper and all that. I had all those as a kid. God damn, I ain't thought about this stuff in 30 years.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So like my grandma, my mom's
Wow.
mom, so I could only watch Superbook over there, right? And I
Mhm.
could never take a toy with me. She wouldn't allow Transformers or Thundercats or Centurions in the house because she thought it was evil. Because it's
Yeah.
worldly, right? So it's
Yeah,
bloody.
because it wasn't about God. Yeah.
Right. So I could watch Superbook and she would let me draw while I was there because my grandmother, that grandmother, she was very artistic. She was really into the sewing and embroidering by hand. And she would like draw these pictures out of needle and thread. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so I would ask for a piece of paper and can I draw? Since I can't play with anything, right? So I would draw Transformers from the little, the fold out maps that had all the toys on there and the price.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
those?
Yeah, I have
I
some
would
of those.
stare at those and draw the ones that I wanted, and she would get upset with me just for drawing them.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
Damn.
But yeah, the Superbook, man, my mother still talks about the Superbook, and we
That
let
little
someone
robot used to
borrow them.
creep me out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what's
what
funny.
did he look like? He looked like
It looks like
He's like a red. He looked like Dr. Eggman with a top hat on.
that.
Do you remember
Right there. He looks like a
the Wizard of Oz
yeah,
movie?
yeah.
The second one?
Yeah, Return
Yeah,
it's
to
scary
Oz.
one.
Yeah.
What the-
Yeah. Return to Oz.
Anyway. Yeah,
had
Return
the
to Oz.
creepy
That's it, yeah.
had the creepy
The
skater
rollers.
guys in there.
They're the rollers.
Yeah.
Those things fucking
Yeah,
traumatized my ass as a kid. Now they're just fucking ridiculous looking. But it was the robot. It was what was he called? TikTok actually. TikTok. Yeah.
Yes, TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the
it
big
all
copper
comes
pot
together
looking
now.
thing.
All comes together.
Yeah.
here.
But no, what's funny?
Sons of a-
So I actually saw like 'cause remember I was talking about the like off-brand cartoons
Wow.
and stuff like that. So I had the VHS tapes of stuff. Like I never had religion type stuff like this, like where it was like crammed down my throat and remove all secular stuff. But like I did go to Catholic school and stuff like that. Well, I'm sorry, CCE classes, I should say, not actual Catholic school. So either Sundays, Wednesdays, whatever day it was, in Cub Scouts or other days.
You went to youth class,
Basically, yeah, but it was all Catholic based. So they had cartoons there that were related to that. Pre-Veggie Tales, and it wasn't this, so I don't know what it was. But they were like the animated Bible tales and stuff like that.
It was the great book,
Yeah,
the great stories.
Yeah, it was something like
Great
that.
Adventures.
Yeah, it was something like
what
that.
What were those called?
Probably Bible.
It had to
It
have
probably
been those
Bible
ones.
Adventures or something like that.
Bible Adventures, something like
Yeah.
that. But they were
That
like
was a
all the
video
main
game.
stories, like
Oh,
the,
that's
the
true.
Moses
That
and the
was
Ten Commandments
You're
and
right.
all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw a lot of that stuff, but I also had all the like basic fairy tales, like Red Riding Hood and Snow White, Seven Dwarfs and stuff like that. But it wasn't the Disney-fied version, and they were shorter shows, not movies. And I don't even remember.
Those were Rankin and Bass, weren't they?
No, what they were, I don't know. But they were just straight up animated, not. But they were all like really, really simple-ish cartoons, like. But I had a lot of those as well. But yeah, like the funny thing is, like, I didn't necessarily grow up in a religious household. Like, my mom wanted to explore the Orthodox religion that she was a part of in Ukraine. Closest thing is Catholic nowadays, at least in our area where she grew up. They were literally around the corner from their church, which was a Ukrainian Orthodox. So we went. My first experience in religion was a Catholic church and Catholic CCE classes and stuff like that, and I was an altar boy and all that kind of stuff, but that was like the extent of it as a child, and it never had a major influence, and I was never denied things for that reason, like you were. I didn't have stuff taken away because it was like, oh no, that's against God and that kind of stuff. So that's interesting to hear. Like,
damn, Shaun, I can't believe you're making me think about all this stuff, man. I had forgotten about this stuff.
How dare you make him
Yeah,
think?
man, I try not to because the more I think about it, the more I get pissed off.
Yeah, me too. All the stuff she made me throw away worth thousands of dollars nowadays.
Yeah, and I didn't go through that part like toys and stuff like that. It was the things out in the free world, like at school, when you would change out to gym, you put your t-shirt and shorts on. I had to go out there in sweatpants every day, and people asking me, yes, and then I had to look my coach or the gym teacher, whatever you want to call him, in the eye and tell him because it's against my religion.
That's crazy.
And not necessarily that I was ready to die on that hill. It's just, this is what my mother is doing. This is what I have to do, or she's going to get pissed off at me.
I mean, worst case scenario, you're hot, right? You
Yeah,
know, it's like,
and
I mean, like,
that is the worst case scenario.
I
But
mean, it's just
kids
sweatpants
will
versus shorts. So there's not really a downside.
You actually look like a, but also kids are merciless. I'd have made fun of
Yeah.
him for being out there in sweatpants and
right.
PE while
But
we're
I
sweating our
wasn't
dicks
the one
off.
Just
to,
tell everybody you got
you would really want
badass
to do
leg
that.
tattoos and you can't
Yeah,
show them.
like Shaun's like, I would have fucked you up. That's not against my, hey, shorts are against my religion. Fucking you up, dead on in my Bible.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
Just say I
have
got really
developed
gross
scars on my
shins.
legs.
I got really gross shins. You don't want to see them.
Rusty, what about you? Did religion have any
So
circumstances in your childhood?
no, so
Pop
it's
culture?
interesting that I was listening to Rikki and you tell those stories, and so my parents are Catholic. Both of them are in the military, and they I remember we would go to church like once a month, like on a Sunday. We would definitely go on Easter. We would definitely go on Christmas. Like that was absolute,
Yeah.
right? But my parents were never, like my mom especially was never really, I almost feel like she was doing it because her mom did it, but she didn't. We didn't really follow any type of religion to the degree that you guys were talking about. And what I find more interesting is that as you guys were talking about it, I've noticed that as I'm watching, news in the U.S. come out over the last few years and things like that, like religion creeps into it, and it always pops in the back of my head. I'm like, I don't feel like Canadians are as religious as Americans with Catholicism,
I could see that.
right? Protestant, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't seem to be as embedded in our society as it is in American society. So nobody that I know or grew up with, we never talked about religion that much, or we never, we never had the experiences like you guys are talking about. We never went to church every Sunday. We never got dressed up every Sunday and all that stuff. So no, like I said, like my mom took me to Return of the Jedi. She was like, "You enjoyed that movie so much that on my 10th birthday, when the year that it came out, she was like, I'm going to take you to Return of the Jedi along with a bunch of your friends."
Now we
Transformers.
know how old he is.
Yeah, no, you can do
He
the math.
doxed his age. He's old as
You can
balls.
do. I am old as balls. Transformers, right? When I got hooked on Transformers and GI Joe, those were the two. Not actually He-Man. So those were like the three
He-Man.
that I got absolutely hooked on. And yeah, my mom was like, "You can have whatever you want, but whatever interest, whatever toy." Now I wasn't, they didn't go out and buy me every single toy, because the fun part about my mom tells the story all the time was that because they were in the military, we moved around a lot, and we ended up in one city that was far away from my mom's home. And she got homesick while they were shopping for the house that they were going to live in while they were posted in the city.
Mm.
And they came across a house that my mom tells the story is it reminded her so much of the house that she grew up in, she had to buy it, but they couldn't afford it. But my dad relented and said, "I understand, whatever," and bought the house. And we were house poor. Like we were eating rice and water, craft dinner. All of my friends were going off to Disneyland. We weren't going on vacation anywhere, right? So when things like Transformers, like like when I was growing up, I remember going into Walmart and the Transformers shelf was empty. You could never find a Transformer in a Walmart store when I was growing up. And the one time that it was sludge. It was a Dinobot, and I was like, "It's a Dinobot!" And I'm freaking out, right? It's like the second last one on the shelf, and I'm running around Walmart going, "Mom, mom, mom!" And she bought it for me, and I don't think that she could have afforded the $30 or whatever
Oh,
it was at the time. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
no, my parents were my parents were always supportive of whatever I was doing. There was never any religion involved in any of that stuff. And I mean, being military too,
Lucky.
right? But yeah, I know, and military might have had something to do with it too, right? Because
Yeah,
I
it feels
mean,
like the military part.
they're seeing GI Joe and they're going, yeah, that makes sense. They're seeing Transformers, right? Something, two sets of people at war, sure, whatever, right? They didn't care about any of that stuff. They didn't follow any of that stuff. So I was lucky that way. You know, I got to collect comics. I got to watch the movies I wanted to watch. I got to collect the toys I wanted to watch. And even when I moved out, went to college, and I finally, like, when I graduated from college and actually, got myself my first apartment or whatever, the first thing she said was, "Do you want all this stuff?" She still had it in boxes, right? All of my toys and all of that stuff and everything else.
Oh yeah.
And like an idiot, the only thing I kept at the time was the comics and all the
Mm.
toys and that, all the like the
Mm.
vintage toys. I was like, just give them to a
You
toy
you
shop or
you were
whatever, right?
you were feeling too big for him.
Yeah, no, that's it, right? I was like, I have no use for this stuff, no time for this stuff, right? Whatever, right? So I
You're like,
just I
I
just
gotta
told the
go get
kids,
laid, mom. I don't need
yep,
toys.
exactly. I cannot have this stuff in my apartment. That's not going to do anything for
And,
me. So
and
yeah,
and
that
now
was
and now you're in your above 40s, and you're just like, I want all my toys.
my very above
I'm
40s.
just gonna we'll refer to it as that from now. Above 40s.
Yeah, yep.
Well, I'm above 40,
No,
so.
Yeah.
above 40s. Like you got to get a
Oh yeah.
beyond.
No, I got a ways to
Yeah,
go.
you're still in. You're in. You're not above.
Right.
The beginning of.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was it for me.
barely.
And I remember that a buddy of mine who was an only child. I wasn't an only child, but like my best friend at the time was an only child, and his parents had shit tons of money, and
Oh,
he had every GI Joe, he had every Transformer, he had every Masters of the Universe, he had every, like, you name a toy, and he had it all. And
that
I would
was
just go
my
over to
cousin.
his house all the time. I'd be like, "Can we play GI Joe? Can we play Transformers? Can we?" And that was how I lived
Yeah,
my toy collecting days.
yeah. It was funny though you said that about your friends getting all the toys and stuff. It's like,
Mm,
and maybe you guys might have experienced. Well, Ricky seemed to have every toy imaginable, so maybe not. But in my case, it was like I would get certain toys, and then like my friends would get the missing toys, so that we'd have a reason
yeah,
to play together. So like when we got
yeah,
into Power Rangers, I'd have certain Zords, they'd have the auxiliary Zords.
the other one.
Or if
Yeah,
if we had when Ronin Warriors came out, I had a bunch of them, and then I had friends who had the bad guys, and then I had another friend who had the couple I was missing. So we'd just all get together and we'd pool our toys for that
The
reason.
fuck?
What is that noise?
My neighbor's weed whacking, I
Is that
think.
what that is? It's like
Fucking asshole.
Ricky's just like having
Well,
all the interesting outdoor noises.
So let me fix something before we get too far ahead of it. I did have all that stuff, just not all at one time. We moved around a lot when I was
Well,
a
we
kid.
know
And
you
every
kept
time we
getting rid of it.
moved, no, I didn't.
No.
My mom did.
Yeah.
yeah,
The greater you.
And I'm not even talking about
And-
the religious part of it. I'm talking about every time we moved, she didn't want to pack it and unpack it, or we'd have to move to a smaller place. We didn't have room for it, so she'd get rid of it all.
See, that blows my mind. Like, because like what Rusty said, mom holding on to all the old toys and stuff. Like when I did finally move out, my mom held on to a lot of the stuff that I did leave behind. Like some of it was nonsense, like some of the rinky-dink Hot Wheels and then like bits and pieces. But like she boxed up all my old stuff. I never even thought about it. Like, and unfortunately, she kept some of it in the attic and then put the rest out in the garage, so it was never heat protected. So like I go and get some of my toys, and they're like the stuff that had the soft rubber plastic, like for armor,
Falling apart.
all fucking falling
Yeah.
apart or just melted. But then like things like my Star Trek starships and stuff like that were actually intact, yellowed but intact. And then like some of the other stuff I had left behind, like I actually brought here, a couple of years ago. I cleaned it up a bit, but like that is just funny, like to think like you had a childhood where like at some point you may have had no toys when you had like all the toys because of whatever kick your mom got on, and then eventually you had to get to replace all of that, and then that's gone, and then replace all. It's like just endless throwing away of money is insane. It's like,
It gets way worse because my mom was very much in this kick of she believes she knew when I was out of something. Like if she
oh
thought I aged out of it, all that stuff went away. And to this day, I will never stop giving her shit about this.
yeah,
I had so they were talking about 94, 95 because I was in high school and Batman Forever was out. And the only reason I remember that is because you'll know in a second. I had a folder with all the baseball card sleeves in it. I had Marvel Series 1, 2, and 3 of the cards complete with all the holographics, with 2 misprint cards and the signature cards that were in 3. And then I had the Hildebrandt brothers whole series of cards where they did like the 2099s,
Yeah.
like all those, and they were like painted. They like looked fancy as shit. I had all those. And then I had Batman Forever, all the holofoils and all those cards too. I had that whole run, all of them inside this one book. Well, my mom decided I'd out-aged it. Like I was past collecting cards. And she literally just gave them away. Like she went down to a neighborhood kid and just handed them to him.
God,
And
that kid's rich now.
No. I ended up seeing like his little brother. That's how I found out about it. I seen the little brother chewing on him.
Oh,
and
you didn't
stuff.
even know
So,
they were
like, you know,
gone.
no, she didn't
Oh.
ask my permission. She just went in there and took them.
Well, I guess
But it gets worse. It gets way worse. We're not even close to the worst part yet, because I gave her shit about it, because I remember when the internet started becoming a big thing and eBay, people selling stuff. I remember looking up the price of the cards, and I told her, I said, you cost me about $5,000 in cards, just those comic cards at that time with complete sets and stuff. And she's like, yeah, well, you owe me a lot more than that, blah, you know, the single parent mom shit. So
and then that's when
I
you
said,
come back.
but
If you knew how much money you
no,
threw away.
no.
Yeah.
No. So my grandfather, when he died, he gifted me 4 things. It was a box with 4 things in it. It was his ring that he always wore with a star sapphire that I still have to this day.
Pretty.
And it was 3 baseball cards. It was a Mickey Mantle rookie card.
Nice.
It was a Ty Cobb card.
Damn.
And it was a Babe Ruth, his last season of playing, Babe Ruth card with a signature.
Damn.
All 3 of those cards were in the last page of that book with the comics.
Oh
That
no.
Mickey Mantle card. That Mickey Mantle card
no.
at the time was selling for $30,000, and you're talking early 2000s. So I as soon as she said that, she said, well, guess what? We could have bought all of us a house now with the fucking money that you threw away just out of my comics, not even my comic cards, because those 3 cards that were in there. Beyond the monetary value, they were gifts from my grandfather who died, so they're irreplaceable. And I still, every once in a while, man, my mom's getting old, and she's, man, her penny pinching ways they're out there, man. She'll be like, remember that one time I let you borrow $1? You know,
remember that time you threw away
with
about
interest and everything, you owe me
$80,000?
about $27 now. You know, she's like that type of person now. And I'm like, yeah, well, you owe me a Mickey Mantle rookie card. And
it's like,
shut that shit
it's
down.
like I think you owe me about $350,000 worth of shit you threw away.
Yeah. And especially as anal as I am, and I always took care of my stuff, dude. I have a CD that I've had since 1994, the 69 Boys CD with Tennessee and all that on there. I have that, and it still doesn't have a single fucking scratch in it. I'm anal about my shit, and I take care of it. And so all my toys were always in great condition, because I was one of those guys. I didn't let you touch my toys, not because I didn't like you, and not because I didn't want you to play with my toys. It's I didn't want you to fuck them up. I didn't want you to do nothing to them. Now, if you had the same exact toy, I might let you touch mine for a minute, just because I knew if you did fuck it up, I'd just take yours. I mean, so it'd be fine. But I always took care of my shit. I even as a kid, I dusted. All my shit was separated correctly. Like all my Thundercat stuff was with Thundercat stuff. All my G.I. Joe stuff was with the G.I. Joe stuff. Like, I didn't mix my shit up. Like, I was very, even then, anal about my stuff. So I know my shit would be worth money today if I still had it. I didn't keep batteries in my shit, even as a kid. My Lino with the light up eyes, a Mummer with light up eyes. Batteries came out when I wasn't using them.
Yeah. I just got a random text message that says it's from post office. It's saying, if you do not get your package, it'll be returned if you do not update your shipping information. And it sent a link. Not clicking on that one, but it's
scam.
Because like, if
I got one from IRS.gov that said they owed me $1,800, just click the link to claim it.
I got a legitimate, like, the old school spam email of, I'm a Nigerian prince and I just need this kind. I got one like that. I literally got one of those the other week in my spam folder. I was like, I was like, they went backwards. It's like, we're going backwards in time. We're de-evolving as a species now.
Just like Hollywood, they've ran out of new ideas. They're just back to oldies.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Sean's making.
All right, so what else you got, Sean? I know that's not all your questions. Let's get some more of these going. These are actually pretty cool. Like, I'm surprised how much this is making me remember shit, dude. Kind of mad that it's making me remember some of it, but it's still cool to think about.
This is good.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, what else?
Especially when you were talking about other kids breaking your shit.
Yep.
So when I was pretty small, and this is around 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, when your first memories are really sticking, my mom babysat a bunch of other people's kids that were around my age. And, sharing is caring.
Oh, no.
So I had to let the other boys play with my shit.
Motherfucker.
And they would
the way he
break
said
my
that.
stuff all the time. Oh, and there was this one kid, his name's Tyler, and I had a Metroplex. I got it for my birthday.
Oh, shit.
And it wasn't a month after that. Tyler's over there, and I went to the bathroom, come back. He was a year younger than me, so I was supposed to be looking after him while mom was screwing off with the other kid. Anyways, he broke this mother in half. Wow. So I walked in the room, and Tyler's holding Metroplex in 2 pieces, and he's like, I don't know what happened. And just
But bitch, we about to find out because I'm gonna try it on
Yeah.
you.
Immediately pissed off, and here we go. And then he takes off crying, and our mom comes in there and is like, he broke it. And it was just like the list of shit that had been broken by other people. And I hated that, man. It's just like you. I was
No, that's some bullshit.
So I
Yeah.
had when we lived in what's called Lutz, which is like it's bigger now than it used to be. It's in between it's by Tampa. It's close. People from Tampa would know Lutz. So we lived over there, and I remember we were in a duplex, and in a duplex next to us was like this father and son, and I think his wife lived there. I don't remember the mom. I don't remember the mom that well, but I remember the son was like a teenager and I was like a preteen, and he was huge into Star Wars. And he's the one that gave me a bunch of the OG Star Wars stuff because he had it in the attic, the crawl space above. He brought them all down. He decided he'd outgrown them and gave me a bunch of like the ATST and box still, like all this shit. And two of the things he gave me, I'll never forget, R2D2 and a R5D4, both still in package, and a Wicket. So it was three of them. Wicket still in package, the original ones. And my Aunt Gail and Uncle Jade come down on my cousin Sam, the one I talked about before. He's older now at this point. He's probably like 4 or 5. They came down to visit, and I had gone to school. Like we lived right around the corner from the elementary school I went to. So I walked to school and home. And so I came home, and I don't remember how I figured it out, but somehow it came down to my mom had decided Sam was going to take a bath, and Sam wanted to play with toys while he was in the bathtub.
Of course.
So my mom let him go get toys out of my room. Sam grabbed my 2 robots that were still in package, opened them, and took them in the tub with him. Now, I don't know how much y'all remember about OG Star Wars, but all their barrel was a giant sticker. It was plain plastic with a sticker with all the doodads on it. So now the stickers are all gone. Now they're just plain white barrels with the proper heads and legs on them. So I flipped out about that shit. And then like, so I go through all that, man. I'm pissed in my room, and I start looking through my stuff because now I know somebody's touched my stuff. Now I'm doing inventory at this point, like seeing what else got fucked with, and I can't find Wicket. And some of my other stuff, of course, is missing, and I flip out about it. So Sam might have been about 6 or 7 because he was able to talk incoherently, because I asked him where it was, and he said he played with them out in the yard. And so I went out there in the yard, and I start finding some of my Star Wars figures out there, and then I had a couple other like random GI Joes and stuff that were out there, but I couldn't find Wicket. I remember being mad as hell about not being able to find Wicket. And I asked him about it, and he didn't know what it was. So I had to figure out how to explain to him about the teddy bear thing. And I showed him, I had one of the other Ewoks, the one, the gray striped one.
Yep.
So I showed it to him, and I'm like this, but brown. And he's like, oh, he died. I'm like, okay, cool. Where is he? And he's like, we buried him. Like, so if it comes down to, he had a funeral for this fucking Ewok toy that was in blister pack still at the time. He opened it, played with it, killed him, and buried him, and did not remember where he fucking buried him at. So I never saw Wicket again. He's buried in that yard somewhere in fucking Luke, as far as I know, to this goddamn day.
Fuck.
I mean, you talking about hot blooded, dude, and my mom she'll still like, she laughs about not that part, but she sees how I am about people touching my stuff and how I like keep it behind locked doors and stuff like that. And she's brought up that Sam thing a couple times, so she remembers. She knows she fucked up. She knows. So because I get mad about people touching my shit, you know. She's like, he's always been that way. I'm like, it's your fucking fault.
Yeah. The funny thing is,
you did it.
I was kind of that way. I mean, I would share to a degree, but like I wouldn't let somebody like go hard, like really playing with my shit. But like, shut up.
I had sharing toys.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I had.
Yeah. You had toys for sharing, but I didn't. I only had the fixed toys. Like we had, like
there was toys specifically for sharing. So, everything else, you keep your fucking hands off.
So don't get me wrong. We had money, especially when I was a kid. We had money. It wasn't until like I hit my teens that things changed. But by then I had my own money. But like, certain toys, the action figures and stuff like that, He-Man, that kind of stuff would go. I didn't actually have that many Transformers growing up when I actually go back and do stock on it. But like I had, a bunch of Thundercats, I had some He-Man toys, I had a whole bunch of other stuff. But it was when I started buying my own stuff is when nobody was allowed to touch it. So I started buying the the Power Rangers Megazords and Power Rangers figures and stuff like that. And it was like, unless we were together and like you brought your stuff, you're not playing with my stuff. It's like it was an equal exchange. But like my cousin, who was spoiled more than me, which is insane, his mom and dad gave him fucking everything, you know. And like it's like people like to call me spoiled growing up. They didn't meet my cousin Michael. So he had I had I never had any of the original Megazord. I didn't have the regular Megazord, Dragonzord, Titanus, none of that. Wasn't until I was an adult I got that shit. He had the full run of the Dino Megazord, the actual Dragonzord. I don't remember if he had Titanus. If he did, he never.
Titanus was the Brontosaurus,
the
thing,
Brachiosaur,
right?
basically, yeah, the Carrier Zord.
Yeah.
So the thing is, he didn't give a shit how anything looked. He never put stickers on anything. He played rough with it. He didn't give a fuck where any of the parts went because he knew if he lost anything, Mom would just buy him another one. So like, he had a fucking ragged out Megazord, ragged out fucking Dragonzord, and then like I had most of the Thunder Zords, but I never had a Tiger Zord. And then he had one, but he fucked it all up. I eventually stole it from him and like fucking painted it up to look like it was supposed to, but just acknowledge the fact it was missing parts. It's actually down here. I showed it off a long time ago when I brought it home from my mom's house, but it's actually down here in the bottom underneath my Detolfs. Like I still have it. It's like it's half yellowed and then stuff like that. I was like, now that repro labels is a thing, I was like, I could technically try to restore this thing if I wanted to. But like compared to my toys, like I kept almost all of my boxes for like the important shit that I bought, and everything went in the box when it wasn't in use. Like it's like even back in the day, I was displaying the stuff on the shelves. I would take it down and dust it. I don't do that now, but back then I did. And then like if I didn't play with it, it would go in storage on top of my closet, and like it stayed that way. That's like when I sold all my Power Rangers figures a few years ago. Like most of them were like pristine, like missing like small stuff here and there. I even bought a whole new repro label set of stickers for my Thunder Zords and put them on so they were like Japanese accurate and everything else like that. And then I got slightly better money, but like they're like, man, this thing's in good shape. I was like, yeah. I was like, I played with it sparingly and then I kept it in box otherwise. Even so, it never really got fucked.
My sharing toys were ones that my mom got at like flea markets or garage sales, shit like that. Or if I had doubles,
dollar store.
If I had doubles, then I had these are ones you guys can come over and play with. Oh, hey, that one over there looks cool. Yeah, but you're not fucking touching it. You can touch these.
Yeah.
Like these are the ones you can play
Ricky's
with.
just like that.
I'm gonna go play with those. I'm still the same way. I don't fuck around. I don't fuck around, man.
All right, Shaun, you got any more questions for us?
All right, so let's see. Can you guys remember the very first thing you would consider a toy? You know, was it a blanket, a teddy bear, a stick, your wiener? What was your first toy?
Well, we're all guys, so it's all the wiener.
I remember my wiener like it was yesterday.
I remember my wiener right now while we're.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
I remember I had a My Buddy when they were brand new and hot.
Did you?
I had those.
I remember those.
Yeah.
I know somebody who had one. No, I knew somebody had a Teddy Ruxpin. Like I always wanted one, never got one.
I had a Teddy Ruxpin. I had one of the glowworms.
I got those too.
I never had either. Like I remember having stuffed animals, but not toys. Like
I had a My Pet Monster at my uncle's house, of course, because it was a demon.
I think mine might have actually been the Castle Grayskull playset.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, the He-Man stuff. I had to say, yeah, that I remember that and the original AT-AT.
Yeah, I think that might have
someone
been
had that in my house. I don't know who.
Toy that my parents bought me for Christmas. I think. Yeah.
See, yeah, it's kind of like what I said before. It's like I know I had these things, but I don't know when they came into my life. But I remember like specific like stuffed animals. Like I got a this dragon one year, and like it had it was green, it had yellow wings and horns and all that stuff like that. Like I don't remember where it came from, but I know I had that like forever. And I think I got it for like Christmas or a birthday. And it wasn't a toy, it was a stuffed thing, plush thing.
If you're going with stuffed animals, I have two that I remember. Like the one my grandma got it for me when I was a baby, and I had it all the way up probably till I was like 5 or 6 until it like finally fell apart. It was like a little white dog wearing a red sweater that said "I love you" on it. I remember that thing. And I had a stuffed animal Garfield.
Oh,
like
nice.
a full,
Oh,
like
that's
it was
cool.
a full size,
nice,
like it wasn't
nice.
like a little one. It was a
Yeah,
full
yeah,
size cat,
That's
and it was
cool.
a Garfield, and it was like sitting position, and I had it for so long. I used to sit there like watching TV. I would just hold it by its tail and swing it around. And I had it until the tail finally just went.
Yeah.
one time
So
because I did that too often.
okay, so I remember my
But yeah.
my
Wow.
early.
God damn, this
So-
is making me feel old.
So
as
I was
fuck, man.
what I was trying to remember was because I named everything, like kids tend to do. So I know I had several stuffed bears. There was Brownie, and there was Bluey. Bluey was a little blue stuffed one, and it had a red bow tie. I remember that. I don't know if the bow tie came on it or we put it on there because it was a Velcro tie. So I don't know if it was real or not. But the thing is, like, oh no, actually, that was on. Did they both have bow ties? Now that I think about it, either way. So I remember those, but then I also had a little like floppy-eared dog, and I named it Sasha. One, I don't remember where I got that name from. I think might have been Pound Puppies, possibly, because I had a couple Pound Puppies as well. Like I had one legit Pound Puppy, and then my mom actually copied the pattern and started making them herself and selling them to
Nice.
other people. So
Your mom was a
my
KO
mom was
company.
making KO Pound Puppies, and like she didn't have like the hard plastic eyes or anything like that, but she would paint them on or buy like stitched eyes or something like that. So I mean, she
That's
made a
funny.
bunch of those over the years for other kids. Which
They
is
had the
pretty cool.
googly eyes where they wiggled.
Yeah, no, they weren't bad, but they were. It was, and like because I remember I had like two that she made, and I had one legit Pound Puppy back in the day. But those are the things I remember having earliest, because I still had them. Like I said, it's like those existed in my life whenever SHOKY turned on as a being, because there's a time where you're not really there, like you don't exist, you're just a blob of cells that poops and cries, and then all of a sudden it's like your hard drive comes online, and then now you start storing memories.
What?
Well, I mean, you don't remember all the way back to your birth. You don't remember past like earlier than like
You don't
two-
tell me if I don't remember
I
my
don't
mom's
wanna
vaginal
remember that.
canal.
I don't want to
tell
remember
me.
No.
that.
So
I remember.
so it's literally
Sean remembers my mom's vaginal canal.
like it was yesterday and
It was
left
really 2
over,
days ago.
and it's definitely left over better the next day, according to
And now
Dad?
you've made it awkward.
Yeah.
Dad?
But you said
Is that you?
exactly. But no,
I like this and I hate this at the same time, Sean. Like, God, it's
dredging it all
good to
up.
think about it, but man, it's really putting me in my feels thinking about my grandma and stuff, man. Dude, this is rough, but man, it's fun. Sit back and think about some of this
I'm
shit.
glad I don't
Like
know.
him talking about Pound Puppies. I remember I had it was like a light brown, but he had the dark brown eye patch
Yep.
in the dark ears.
Yep.
Like that's the one I had, and I forgot about it till you mentioned Pound Puppies.
I had mine was gray
Dude.
with black spots.
Wow.
Hmm.
Fuck.
Black ears.
Okay, so what about see if you can remember this. What was your first love? Like a franchise? Or the
Oh, I
first,
thought you meant like romantic love. Like
No,
okay.
no. Like Transformers, G.I. Joe's, He-Man, Thundercats.
It was Transformers.
Pound Puppies.
It was
Transformers. Pound Puppies.
Honestly,
the
as
one
a
that
kid, yeah, Pound Puppies.
The one that I locked into, both having the toys and really getting into the story of it all, it would have to be He-Man, probably. But the one that has stuck with me the longest, of course, is BTAS. But I was a little bit older when that came out.
That's Batman
too.
for those who are paying attention.
That's Batman the animated series.
Yeah.
Yes, but we're going back to first though, because like
that's the one, that's the strongest one that stuck the hardest, like overrode everything. But I'd have to say it's He-Man. Like I remember
early days.
I was psyched. My mom worked at Tampa General Hospital, and I remember like during the summer when I wasn't in school, I'd have to go to work with her, and they had like the daycare there and stuff. And I remember I loved that live action He-Man movie because it was fucking He-Man in live action. I didn't get how shit it actually is and how it had nothing to do with He-Man really. Like, but back then, 6 years old, man, I used to put that VHS tape in and I wore that motherfucker out sitting in that daycare.
Yeah.
Because I would be the only kid there. So I'd do whatever the fuck I wanted to.
So I'll roll back a bit. So He-Man was probably the first, but it was so short-lived, and I think the only reason why, because my parents had actually bought me Castle Grayskull, right? And but I was watching Transformers, but I will tell you that like the minute I saw the commercials and then saw the cartoon, right? The fact that this toy is a robot that transforms into a car, I was like, that was it. That was everything. Right. And there was nothing else. And I within minutes, right, I was like, Mom and Dad, I don't like He-Man anymore. I like Transformers now. And they were like, what in the fuck did we just buy?
That same progression happened with me too. But he said I had to go first one, which would have to
Yeah,
be He-Man.
I think
I remember it
He-Man.
being He-Man.
He-Man was good, right? Like I liked
Mhm.
He-Man, but the minute the Transformers hit me, I was like, "That I gotta have that," right? And
Yep.
every other kid I knew wanted Transformers. I had to have Transformers, and that's why, like, it's
Transformers was such a phenomenon when we were kids,
you
dude. I
could
don't think
not
people
find
realize that.
Transformers in the stores. You could not find it in the stores.
It was such a key switch in the intelligence levels of the show and the writing of it and
Mhm.
hearing of so advanced for 5 and 6-year-olds that are on playing with these toys and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they did a movie, and
So-
we were all, every kid on the planet was like, "What?"
So the thing is, like, I think I talked to you about this before, Shaun, when you kind of came up with this a few years ago. We had this conversation too. I think because I was exposed to all those major cartoons at the same time, and I didn't get to like follow the shows directly. I just had the VHSs. Like my exposure was limited to only a certain amount of story, and then I only had so many toys. It was always a significant like amount of everything, but with no singular focus, which is why it was like I never had a particular thing I latched onto until a bit later, you know. So I guess if we're going beyond like young childhood, Power Rangers would have been the thing I latched onto more than anything. So if we're going there, by the way, I figured out what the dragon was. I remembered what it was, and I looked it up, and I found one on the internet. So it was a Fun Farm Dakin 1987 vintage green plush Puff the Magic Dragon. So it was actually
nice.
a Puff the Magic Dragon thing. Like here, like if you guys can like see that.
Yeah,
that's what it was. I totally remembered it. I was like, wait a minute, it was because it had a tag that said Puff the Magic Dragon on it. So I was like, holy shit. And I think that was roughly no, because wait, when did Pete's Dragon come out? That was early
70s.
That was 70s,
Oh,
right?
that was
if I
70s,
had to
that was
guess,
early.
it's because of Pete's Dragon. I saw that young, and I wanted a dragon of some sort, and that was a thing that existed. But I also remember having like a Puff the Magic Dragon like audio tape thing. You know, they had the kids sing along things on audio.
I remember I had the California raisins from Hardee's.
I had those
My grandma
too.
got me all those.
I didn't even know where we got them from, but I had a bunch. But then my
Hardee's.
But well, I know, but I mean, like my aunt in California would buy them and send them to me on my birthday. So I actually had like 12 of them, like from over the decades, and then they all got lost. Like all of them got lost.
My grandmother was the one, like when stupid shit like that came out, like the Happy Meal stuff and all that. If I wanted them or liked the set, she's the one who would go drive around to all the different restaurants and ask them if they had this one or that one to fill out the whole set.
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking a couple weeks ago. I got that Alfin, and it made me think about there's a Burger King. It's still here. It's still in this town. And it was a street over from her house. And I remember they did the Alf hand puppets.
Oh yeah, they had the
fuzzy hand puppets.
Yep, I remember.
But they had all the different outfits. There was a chef one, there was the surfer one, and there was a rock and roll guy one, and there was like 4 or 5 of them. And I remember she went every fucking day almost asked, "Hey, did you get the new one in? Which one do you have back there?"
Yeah.
I had all of them. Used to play with them all the time. Like that, getting that Alf figure. I remember I told you hit my nostalgia buttons. It made me think about that stuff.
So speaking of that Alf figure, so I watched Bobby's review of it, and he also called it a bowl of broccoli. I said the same thing. I was like, why does he have broccoli? And then it's like, oh wait, those are slime balls, not broccoli.
Yeah, those are his vomit balls.
Yeah. I thought he got them from somewhere else. But I guess he coughed them up.
Well, it says it on the back of the box.
Yeah, so
it tells you what.
He doesn't read boxes. He barely reads instructions.
No, I'm saying you.
Well, no, that's how I knew, because I saw it. And when I did the unboxing, I literally said, why does he have a thing of fucking broccoli? And then I read literally on camera, oh, they're slime balls. It was like, oh, okay, now I remember that. He would cough them up.
That was like how, cats hawk up loogies and all that shit. That's his fur balls.
Yeah. I keep forgetting I have the Alf because he's over there with my Ninja Turtles.
It's such a great figure.
What else are you going to put him with, unless they do the whole family? Right?
I want to do like a 80s nostalgia. I have a whole idea that I want to do, and I don't want to say out loud too many times what it is because I'm afraid somebody's going to steal the idea. But I have a whole idea.
You're still going to do it even if somebody else does it.
I talked about it with one person. Like a faux front of like an old school television, like the click televisions like we had when we were kids. I'm gonna do a faux front like that with the screen removed, and have like some of those, like a couple of the Silverhawks, have Alf in there, have them in action, like some of them coming out, like
TV
flying figures
diorama
actually coming out of the screen. pretty much what I want to go with, and then have some of them inside the shelf, like doing different stuff in there.
No,
like I'll have
what you should
He-Man
do.
on Bat, and Skeletor on Panther and stuff like that.
Go full R word. Literally, go get an old TV, hollow
I
it
thought
out,
about it and just cutting the front off.
No, a whole TV. Empty the entire
and use
TV.
the inside
Build the diorama inside the TV. And light it and
that
everything.
might be a bit much.
No,
that might be a
never.
bit much. But I want to do it as in like a nostalgia corner, like in my display. I have an idea of where I want it at in my display and all that, and I can make the faux front as big as I want, so I can have it be multiple layered to have more figures inside there and stuff. And I'll have like a masterpiece transformer representation in there, stuff like that. I want to do something like that.
It needs to be the old TV set, the giant wooden surrounded thing that was furniture
with the beige plastic that just covered the screen. Yes, that's what I want.
It wasn't just a TV, it was furniture. You set your other shit on top of it. Then of course
your knickknacks and brick
everything on top of that. We had two of those over the years. When the first one died, we put it out in the garage and we got a new one. And when the second one died, we stacked it on top of the first one. Literally, it's so funny. Like they were in the garage for fucking 20 years, just fucking stacked. I was like, did nobody ever think to just replace the TV itself and leave the whole thing? Because it's really nice mass-produced woodwork, but it's actually pretty good looking. It's like solid oak. I was like, we just throw this shit away. It's like, repurpose that shit. Put a plasma TV in it. That'd be hilarious.
I want to do something like that and have like an 80s. 90s like cartoons that were important to me as a kid, just have representations of them like coming out of the TV. I think that would be a cool setup.
Yeah, because you could 3D print that shit or have somebody cut it out of foam. If you knew somebody who knew how to plan that shit out and 3D cut it out of foam for you, you could make an entire faux front for it.
I'm pretty handy, and I really want to get crazy with, like I was talking about it with I think my neighbor. I was talking about it. Like, I'm good with electronics and stuff too. I want to actually set it up so that when you turn the dial, it changes the backlighting and stuff inside there. That's and then have another one where you use the dial and it plays like the theme songs for the different shows that are in there. So you can click it and put whichever theme song you want playing out. I think that'd be cool as fuck. Do something like that.
That's easy enough.
So Shoky, did you say that your first was Pound Puppies? You were being serious, or you just?
Well, the main reason I say that is because like I remember the Pound Puppies cartoon. And I was all about that fucking cartoon. And like that was another one of those weird things where it's like, but like the thing is like because I had like I said, I mostly had those stuffed bears, but then like Pound Puppies were like the earliest version, I guess, of what do they fucking call them? The Beanie Babies, basically. Collect them all, like
pretty much.
So like I really did technically want to collect them all. They had like I guess they would do them six.
Technically, Cabbage Patch Dolls probably would have been the first.
Yes,
Beanie
technically,
Babies.
but not those were for girls. Pound Puppies were for guys usually, or both, but mostly.
Were they?
No, because I knew some people had
we grew
both.
up in an era where there definitely was
the boys section, yeah. And like so, I mean, I really like the Pound Puppies, and like I said, we had several. After my mom made them, but like,
do y'all remember Popples?
No, what is that?
They came in
it was like a stuffed bear looking stupid thing with a tail, but then you could grab its back and fold it, and it would roll in on itself and become like a fuzzy ball.
No, but they still make those things basically. Now they turn them inside. They Squishmallows have them too, where you turn them inside out. And there's another one inside it.
Squishmallows.
Squishmallows. I remember that.
Yeah. All right, so
Popples was a thing.
So why do you ask, Shaun?
So he wanted to make fun of you.
No, he's doing a psychological assessment of
it's
all.
Called a segue.
So everybody, Shaun's our psychiatrist. We're all fucked.
Oh, everybody dying. Everybody done.
Yeah.
It's over. So okay, everybody's is a little different. So mine was Centurions, and I don't remember why it caught my eye. I could tell you why I think I liked it because it's humans and they're bright colors
cool
and they
looking,
have machines.
It's
and
nice.
Do things. One flies.
The animals that come out of them and stuff.
And they're probably explosions.
Explosions.
Yeah.
So
explosions.
The other question that ties to that is we all kind of have different first loves, but why did Transformers come in and take over?
Because
that's what I was kind of touching on earlier.
TV commercials.
It was literally the best TV commercials, the best music. Like they studied kids.
You can go back and you can look at all of the documentaries that they've gotten on this, right? Toys That Made Us and all that stuff, right? And they talk about Transformers all the time about this. When Hasbro bought the idea of Transformers from Takara Tomy,
and Diaclone,
they immediately turned around and went, how do we market this? And they pulled a whole marketing team together, and they went, so first they went to Marvel, right? And they went, we need you guys to write up all the bios for all these characters.
Yep.
Then they used that and they said, and we want you to write a comic. Then they turned around and they went, now what do we do? Well, we're going to do commercials. That's great. But they went, we can turn the comic into a cartoon. And then they created the cartoon, right? And all of that stuff together was just market flooding, right? You could not move, turn anything on, turn on the
Without
radio,
seeing
go into a
Transformers.
store, nothing, without seeing or hearing about Transformers. It was pure marketing.
Yeah.
Right.
When-
But like Rikki said, right, it was kids like robots, kids like cars, right? Because Hot Wheels, right? If we were actually, now if I go back, I think the first toy I ever had was probably a Hot Wheels, right?
Or a Tonka truck.
Right, or Tonka truck,
Yeah.
right? So kids were always playing with Hot Wheels and Tonka trucks. So now you take that and you turn it into a robot, boom, every kid on the planet wants that toy, and you throw all the marketing in behind it, and that's
I'm pretty
what
sure they
Transformers
talk to like
are.
psychologists, like children's
They
psychologists,
literally-
and shit like that too.
Marketing people for sure. Why not?
This was beyond anything that had ever been done. There's a reason why they can't do it anymore. It's like
They literally had to change the fucking legislation so they couldn't do
they
this
had to change the laws of the land because of it. Oh, we're going on a tour with Shaun now because he heard something.
He's frozen looking down at his screen on my screen.
No, he's wandering the house.
Yeah, I'm just gonna step outside and do my thing while you're
He's
talking.
gonna have a cigarette.
I didn't even know Shaun smoked. I like him more now.
He
Tell me you don't smoke
smokes.
Marlboro Lights.
No, that's the cheapens, man. Cheapens.
Hopefully
Menthol or
you don't
non-menthol?
lose signal.
I'm on Wi-Fi. I shouldn't.
Yeah, it was getting real sketchy there, but that's okay. We'll stare at the top of your porch now. But yeah, no, I mean, realistically, like all those shows we talked about, they were just 30-minute long toy commercials. That's all they were. And then beyond that, there were commercials always running.
But Transformers was the peak of it. Transformers is what everybody wanted theirs to be.
But the thing is, at least with say like G.I. Joe, He-Man, and things like that, you actually got a toy that looked like the thing on the screen, unlike Transformers, which years later we find out why
99% didn't look anything.
Yeah, they're vague. They're vague looking. Now they look like the comics. Well, no, even then, well, closer to the comics.
Mostly.
Somewhat.
Depends.
But even from the beginning, from the different years over the time when Transformers got bigger and bigger up till the movie, it was still a limited cast. It wasn't until later that things went insane. But by then, Diaclone / Takara was going nuts. Takara's buying anything and everything. Diaclone and the Microchange line,
Micronauts,
is fucking. They're just going crazy. And then it's like Hasbro's just like, well, we could become the biggest toy company on the planet if we just stick with this and continue to market to every child on the planet. So I mean, realistically, that's why. It's like why it's still one of the biggest brands ever. Even though they can't do what they used to do. Even though, I mean, Michael Bay basically does the same fucking thing.
And once Transformers kicked in for me personally, it stayed locked in until Batman, and then from that point forward, it was Batman.
Now, see, I was in on Ninja Turtles,
and that's I'm just talking about the cartoons. No, Ninja Turtles were in there, but they didn't replace Transformers. The Transformers stayed number one.
But for me, ironically,
was just second.
Maybe not ironically, because like I said, I didn't have that many Transformers. I played with them, but I didn't have that many. Like, I never had an Optimus Prime until I was way older. And it wasn't even a G1. It was, my first Optimus Prime was the Revenge of the Fallen Optimus.
Gross.
No, that was a good one. That was the one where they figured out all the
nothing from Bayverse is good.
No, but that Transformer was awesome.
Agreed.
That compared to
compared
to the first one.
Speaking of that, because Shoki and I are the same age, we're 3 to 4 years younger than y'all, except Rusty about 12. I didn't have my first Transformer was in 1987. I had pictures of it. It was on Christmas morning. 1987 is the first time I actually got a Transformer toy. And by 87, that was season 4.
End of the line. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
the dying rebirth, and that's all we got. So everything we were watching on TV was rerun.
Yeah.
So I think that has a part to do with it. We came in later, and that's why Ninja Turtles was so close to that.
Yep.
We just kind of
1989
rolled on into it. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's how it hit me and Shoki a little different than it did you two.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, mine was too. Mine too was more.
uh,
It's more of a psychological thing too. It's the solo, the singular person, the not needing anybody else. And Ninja Turtles is a team thing. Transformers, you can argue that it's a team thing, but they're not. They're robots. They can run independent of each other. One person can go off and do whatever they want to by themselves. There was no real connection between the robots. And then Batman, of course, is totally solo. I don't care a shit about a Robin and all that. That was just somebody hanging around. But I very much connected to the solo, not the team. They could have team members that helped them, but it was still the one person did it. Like He-Man had Man at Arms, Tila and all that, and Orko, but it was He-Man did it. Everybody else just kind of happened to be around while
and
it happened.
Cringer.
Yeah.
Cringer did nothing.
So the Turtles
but
didn't do it for me
also-
because they were 1000%. It was a
team.
slice of pizza.
Yeah.
You had to have all four. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I never did.
And with Transformers, you could pick which character you liked.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Like obviously everybody liked Optimus Prime, right? But I mean, you
Nope.
know, somebody like
Well,
anyway,
like Mike loves
somebody
jazz.
likes Mirage.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, somebody likes Jazz. Somebody likes Mirage. Somebody likes Cliffjumper. Everybody liked Bumblebee. Ricky.
Soundwave, dude. It's always
Yeah,
Soundwave.
it's
yeah,
always
you have
Soundwave
to
for
go-
me.
Anyway.
It's always Soundwave because
but
of the
you know what I mean,
music
right? You
tie-in.
could
Yeah.
pick, right? You could, you know,
Yep.
you got to pick who you liked, right? And you're right. There were stories that were legitimately around a particular character, right? Like, I mean, we had a Trax episode, we had a Blaster episode, we had a, you know,
Hoist
so-
goes to Hollywood.
Yeah,
Hoist goes to
eventually they're just like,
Hollywood, right?
well, we have a cast of like 45 characters. What do we do? It's like,
What do we do with them?
and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, we got bigger stories, and then we got smaller stories, and then we have shit that matters to the entire galaxy, and then we've got literally some bullshit, some dumb bitch
There's
falls in
only-
love with fucking Power Glide.
Power Glide.
That wasn't even the worst one, man.
No, well, no,
The
it
worst
wasn't,
one
but
was still
still.
Sea Spray. Sea Spray and the fucking Atlantean, the mermaid
What are
lady.
you talking
Oh,
about?
That shit.
that is amazing. That is amazing.
Ugh.
You make that a short, and you. Oh my god, that was good. Okay.
That was a good
Impression.
vocal
It's
of
just-
them, but that
Gargling. It's all it is.
Yeah.
Gargling and
it's just
talking.
you have to do a
I
lot
don't
of
even-
practice
I can't
working
even-
in wood to get your mouth full.
Shut up.
I can't even like work out how
You
would
said
do
yeah,
that
we were
in my head.
You sound like you're trying to purr like a kitten.
Thank you.
Don't do that.
That's why I'm embarrassed now.
Yeah.
That's why my friends call me
But
Whiskers.
the thing is, yeah, exactly. So the other thing is like with doing sea spray like that is like not just the gargling. You also got to get the weird voice too. It's like it's not easy. And
I'm
that
not
was
even
probably
gonna
the
try.
first time I've attempted it, but it was pretty good.
Like that's
Pretty
one of
good.
the things everybody got so mad about the Fans Toys Sea Spray, the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's my favorite one. Like I hated
know.
Sea Spray in the cartoon. I love that one because that is literally the toy.
Yeah.
And I had the toy. I played the fuck out of that thing when I was a kid, to the point where the metallic paint was coming
Yeah,
off.
I had the G1
I
and
had
the
I had
G2.
the G1 and the G2, the purple one.
Yeah.
I had them both, man. I loved that fucking thing.
Gross.
It was the vehicle, nothing to do with the G2 colors.
Yeah,
I'm not a G2
yeah.
guy.
There's just a
That's
cool vehicle. The
Yeah,
hovercraft is cool.
I love the hover. Yeah, and I had it with my whale.
and I didn't know who
like,
the character
It
was.
was the whole thing.
That was the thing.
Nope.
I had no idea who the character
'Cause it
was. I
didn't
just liked the
match, 'cause
toy.
It was so
Yeah.
it was so far off. The big fat pudgy guy in the cartoon and that guy, and it never clicked in my head that they were supposed to
Yeah.
be the same thing. Like it never clicked. I always thought that the Sea Spray toy was actually a GoBot because
I
it had
mean,
that very simplified
yeah,
transformation.
See, I actually had GoBots. That's the funny part. I had GoBots.
I did too.
I had
And
Sidekill.
I'm so tired of hearing elitist motherfuckers talk shit about GoBots. GoBots were awesome.
But I didn't know they were GoBots. That's the thing. I had So like I said, I was like, I know I had these
Coptor
toys.
was one of my
I
favorites.
just didn't know why.
Mhm.
But I had Mask. I had Mask toys.
Yep.
I had
Yep.
like something of every line, but I do not remember ever asking for these things. Just all of a sudden they're there. Like it's like
I of course had the green motorcycle, and then I had the purple semi,
oh, you had the
and then
big
I
one.
had the
I had the truck. I had the orange truck.
I had the black like blazer looking thing
Yes.
that had like the gun turret.
Yes.
I had that, and I had the car, the main car, the red one with the gold wing doors.
Yeah, the Camaro.
Those are the 4 masks I had. I remember them. and I always played with the motorcycle was my favorite. I don't give a fuck if that was the one everybody had. That one was my favorite.
And the funny thing is, like, even if I think back now, like, I don't know the name of the character, I don't know the name of the vehicle. I just know it was the
I know
orange.
Matt Tracker is the guy who drove the red one.
Yeah, so I just know that it was an orange like Chevy truck, and it was like a dually, and it had a wheel that shot off the back. And I had one of the motorcycles, I don't know which one, but it didn't last long. But then when you flip the thing, like when you put the wheel on it, it would pop the thing up. Guns came out of the front, and then like it was a whole jacked up thing. And I was like, and it had that 80s panel design, like I shared with you the other day, Sean. Like it was like
the wood paneling,
not the wood paneling, the airbrush panels. Like, so it's like the multicolored panels on the side of the truck that was so 80s. And I was like, that was so ingrained in me from that toy that I actually like the vehicles in real life that look like that now. That's what's crazy.
Trash.
It's like, even though they were stickers back then, you know, it was just a big sticker down the side of it. So like, you know, Ramen Toys is making the mask stuff. And
I'm not talking about fuck Ramen
And
Toys.
I'm just like, if they actually make that one down the line, I would probably go in on the board.
I'm not giving them a single fucking penny of my money.
Well, that's fine. I can choose.
So what's up with that, man? Why do you not like ramen?
Yeah, what's it?
They've only put out 3 things. All of them had massive QC issues, and they keep taking money and keep promising all this shit, and all they're doing is giving renders. They're selling all there's people out there that will defend Ramen Toys like they're their best friends. I'm like, name one toy of theirs that you have that's not a piece of shit.
Like fans toys.
Well, at least they have the videos.
That's not true, because I have about 500 fans toys. How many fucking ramen toys?
500
exactly.
500 fans toys.
I've had every fans toys ever made except for the 2 repaints, and I've never had Shockwave from them, and I didn't have the Jeep. What's his face from them? Hound.
Oh, Hound Wiley's.
Other than that, I had everything else they've ever made.
Willis.
Yeah, Willis. Never had Willis, never had Quake Wave, and I didn't have the repaints of Omega Supreme or any of the other repaints of like Galvatron or anything.
Yeah.
No, I sold them mine off. They're gone. Show me Dead End or you don't get my money.
You're gonna die on that hill, because once Dead End comes out, you're gonna be mad as fuck.
That's
when you
literally
I'm not
gonna care.
That's literally his Dead End.
I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm done. You guys fucked around. I don't even care anymore. MMC, boys and girls.
No thanks.
Moving on.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
But that's like
I want Zeta to protect the bots.
I've listened to that guy, Shaun. You're asking why I don't like him. Like, I've listened to that his Ace is his name or whatever. Like, I've watched him on videos and stuff, and he sounds like a used car yuckster to me. Like, it just I make it as like a joke, but like just watching him on video while he's talking, I'll pat my pocket just to make sure he hasn't grabbed my wallet while I wasn't looking. Like, I don't trust anything that comes out of guys' mouths. He's slimy as fuck. And I don't fuck with people like that.
So it's funny.
Like Valaverse, I won't fuck with them because Bobby Val is a dickhead. I don't give a shit how nice his figures are.
He is a dickhead.
So I started watching ramen as soon as they hit the scene, because the first thing they did was Centurions, right?
Yes.
And I wanted them too, dude.
Yeah, that's exactly that. I want a good set of Centurions. And I mean, just, you know, it was the
piece of shits with the wrong heads on them, and they're sucky.
Yeah, the pay up front pre-orders and all that. I just don't like that shit. And then when they came out, I didn't like what they looked like. And then, like you say, the QC. Well, then the next time, here goes another one that was quote unquote better to what people wanted. Or they changed a little thing, changed the paint, did a little this, did a little that. Here we go again. Here's another round. Well, then they do it again a third time and actually hit what people actually want.
Yep.
And they're a little bit more.
And then wanted to sell it to you as side pieces and all that. Like, everything they do is sketchy, and people don't catch it. Like the Ghost Rider car. Have you seen that thing? I remember he came out. He announced it. He's like, we're gonna make sure this car's only 200, 250 at the most, because that's what HasLab should have been charging. First of all, he's a dickhead. He literally announced it and showed it for the first time as the HasLab was dying. Like the day they were on their final countdown to the last couple hours, and he announced that thing. And he put out a video, said they're going to keep it underpriced because that's what fans really want. And then they just announced, like in the last week or two, announced the actual car, showed renders of it, showed how it works, this, that, and the next thing. And people are bypassing what he actually says in this thing. He has pictures of it with pricing. The car is $250. That's it. You want the flame effects? That's another $60. Oh, you want that spoiler that goes on there? That's another $20. You want that the hood scoop on it? That's another $20. And by the time you finish adding it all up,
It's a
it
cost
costs
of the
as
HasLab.
much as or more, and it doesn't even come with any fucking figures. And everybody flipped out about how much that HasLab cost, and it was going to come with 6 fucking figures. Like, people need to fucking relax. And then people will still defend Ramen Toys for doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are nuts.
My only argument,
Absolute nuts.
my only argument for the Ramen Toy charger is that it actually looks more like a real charger, not some comic booky charger. That's the only.
But that's because
that's the only argument.
That's because he's allowed to do what he wants to, because KO third-party company. He can he'll slap a Dodge charger together because he's not worried about Dodge coming after him, because he doesn't care. He's not looking for the rights to use.
The funny part is you don't even have to buy it for Ghost Rider. You can just buy it to be Dom's charger from Fast and Furious,
which he's done on purpose. There's different kits
levels,
that you can buy, and that's the thing. There's different kits you have to buy to make this car be different things. And by the time you get finished paying it, you're paying more than
the General Lee version too.
Yeah, fuck that shit, dude. Fuck Ramen Toys. Fuck that Ace dude and his asshole. Him and Bobby Valek can go fuck off with Todd McFarlane somewhere. I don't got time for none of those people.
I was wondering when Todd McFarlane was going to come into this.
Yeah,
right there. Because he's the same one as all of them. He's a little car salesman too, and he'll admit it.
Yep.
This dude,
well,
this dude
literally
admitted, and I watched a video on 5 or 6 of the home run record baseballs that like those ones that created the records, and they're all signed. And he said how much they were worth. They're worth like $1 million or some bullshit like that mixed together, right? And he said, I don't even care about baseball. I only have them because it's a power move. When people come into my office and they see those and they ask what those are, and I tell them what they are and what they're worth, then people think I'm more important than I am. And then they listen to me talk. So he literally did it just to outsell something to somebody. He literally talks in circles and blows smoke up people's asses. Every time Todd talks, every time Ace talks, I'm like, no, thank you. I do not want rectal cancer. Don't need to blow smoke up my ass. Y'all move on down the street with that stuff. Just be honest and tell me this is what you're going to do. Fine. I don't hate on Todd because of scope. I hate on Todd because he took my money and lied to me.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep.
That's why I hate Fans Toys. Fans Toys took my money and gave me an incomplete set of Stunticons and aerial.
But they didn't lie to you. They said it's coming. They didn't say you're getting it next week.
Sure, they did.
Lying would be if they took your money and they'd be like, oh, by the way, we're not giving you dead end. So that's not the same thing. Because Todd McFarlane said, I'm giving you dead end, and then you pay me for it. And then once I pay you for it, I'm going to change it all. So now you're ending up with an Optimus Prime. That's not the same thing.
Yeah,
they still took my money.
They're just going to
No, they didn't. You paid for dead end. Who'd you pay for dead?
Your audio.
Exactly. So they didn't take your money.
Yeah. If you actually paid for it and you're just sitting and waiting on it, yes, I could understand being pissed off.
But there's nowhere to pay for it unless you went to some third party weirdo fucking mom and pop shop place that made you prepay ahead of time.
I spent money on an unwritten agreement on 4 figures that I would get a 5th, and I do not have the 5th. You took my money.
But they didn't give you a time frame on that 5th one. They said we'll give you a 5th. You made up an arbitrary timeline.
Sure. You can argue this if you want. You can argue this if you want, but you and I have had this discussion that you want dead end without the frame.
Yep.
Right.
And I didn't sell off all my stuff because they haven't given it to me yet.
They refused to tell us anything. They refused to tell us
bad
what the
business.
fuck's going on.
We all know it's bad business.
It's not great business, but it's not going to make me sell my
bullshit
stuff.
Bullshit statements that, oh, it's coming. Don't worry. Oh, it's going to be at the end of this year. Don't worry. Oh, don't worry. We're going to show it off at whatever. And nothing. So to me, it's sleazy car salesman maneuvers to tell us whatever the fuck we want to hear.
They're actually car salesmen.
Just so that
that's the thing is they are car salesmen. That's true. Touche.
It's funny.
Touche. But that's the thing is all those statements that we're going to be here, we're going to be there, we're going to get Q3, Q4. None of that's ever come from Fans Toys. Not a single word of that.
No,
that's always come from that Din Djarin guy or people guesstimating on the internet. And
don't bring the Mandalorian
Fans
into
Toys
this.
Hasn't. Whatever the guy's name is, y'all know who I'm talking about.
Dejani or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but people take his.
But people take his word as the word of God when it comes to Fans Toys.
But is he not the owner of Fans Toys?
That's never been proven. That's everybody's assumption because he has come out and he has said this is coming from Fans Toys, and then it's shown up. So he has an in to that company somehow. He knows somebody or is somebody in that company.
Well, okay, I'll tell you.
People act like he's
when I asked them to send me a replacement part for Jai when I broke the leg, when I sent the money for the shipping, it was his email address.
Okay.
So he's involved with the company.
So I just said he's in the company somewhere. I didn't say
hold on. I'm sending an email to service@Fans Toys, and then I'm sending money to Dejani@Gmail.
Okay.
So
maybe he's their distributor. That would work exactly.
He's involved
that way.
somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. He's involved somewhere, but everybody acts like he's the final word. He has said this figure is coming out on this date and has been wrong, and it's come out earlier. He said this figure's coming out on this date. He's been wrong, and it came out a month later. So I mean, he's not 100% all the time, but people act like everything he says is coming down from the God of Fans Toys world.
But you can see why they would, right? Just because every time that something comes out about Fans Toys, it's coming from that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's also been wrong just as many times. So I wouldn't take.
I mean, it's a fair point, regardless. Like,
anyway,
so yeah,
I get where you're coming from. I get the frustration of it. I just don't get the fuck them I'm out. Like if Fans Toys shut down, like if we found out they shut down today, then I would be mad as you. Then I did make an agreement with you that you were going to give me this 5th fucking bot, and now I don't have one.
Like what's happened with other companies.
Yes, and it has happened with other companies. But they've never given a definitive timeline.
Like,
they said they're working on it. The only thing they've ever come out and said is we're working on the combiner mode. That's the only thing is they've ever said.
Yeah.
Everything else has been fan theory.
Anyway,
that's true. It's true.
I still love you though.
A Fans Toys theory.
I love you, buddy.
And when they come out with Bandit and you're ready to get back, you have to talk a big number. I might be willing to sell mine.
Don't care.
He's out.
Moving on.
Get the DX9.
Moving on to Legend Scale.
Moving on to KOs.
Yeah, moving on to KO Legends. Hey, they got that 4th party Metroplex Legend scale that's clearly
4th party is a lie, sir.
No, I call it 4th party because it clearly looks like someone's design and they're just making it again.
That's a 3rd party.
Nope.
4th party is a KO.
Yeah, it's what I'm getting at. It looks like someone's design and they just shrunk it, much like this other. Like Pangu.
Well, then that's a KO.
Yeah, so I call it 4th party. I'm playing nice.
No, 4th party is a lie.
I'm playing nice. But either way,
4th party is where people feel good about buying.
But
KO.
a Metroplex sitting there playing with no other Legend scale toys, and I was like, that's still wrong. Like Metroplex is not short. Metroplex is fucking. Yeah. It's like the 3rd largest
scale.
Will
never be good in those.
No, it's just
scales will never be good in those things. You can't.
I mean, you have to go this scale just for Omega Supreme. It's like you can't go that way with City Bots without selling little itty bitty Transformers.
Fucking what's his face? The one that they just put out, Hannibal. He was the head for Fort Max. Fort Max.
Yeah.
Fort Max is going to be 4.5 feet tall. He's still way too fucking short. The scale will never work.
He's not scaled to anything.
Never ever work.
No, Fort Max can't be
never
big
ever work.
Yeah.
That's none of those city bots will ever be big enough.
Live inside a Fans Toys figure.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Exactly.
We all live on Unicron. Like you understand that if you want
to in the Bayverse, yes. It's the size in the Bayverse we do live on Unicron.
But it's still the size of a planet regardless.
Actually in the Prime universe too. It was also Earth was also Unicron. So they're just stealing ideas. All right, any other questions? Or are we gonna
Sean, any more questions, Sean? We're way deep.
Yeah, we're almost 3.
Okay.
Jesus.
So can you think back and think of your favorite toy that you ever had? Doesn't have to be Transformers, it could be a fucking stick. Do you remember that one thing that was your always go-to just to play with?
Yes. I still have
What you got?
A dick.
Batman the Animated Series, Batman.
Batman the Animated Series, Batman.
Yep. I have 2 of them. I have 2 of them in. No, I heard you. I ignored you. I have 2 of them that are in my kids' collection now. They were my actual toys that I played with, and I have 1 of them still in package.
Sweet.
It's the first one that came out with the yellow belt with the yellow grappling hook that fired off of the side of it.
Nice.
Rusty?
So the
and Soundwave.
Sludge jumps out of me because again it was the first Transformer that I actually found in the store. But my parents did actually get me Metroplex at one point. And I remember when I got that thing that I was just blown away.
And it didn't get broken in half.
Yeah. And so funny. So I wanted to tell that story back when you guys were talking about that. It's funny that Sean, you said that you had a broken Metroplex because I actually broke my Metroplex on my brother's face because he was pissing me off.
Holy shit!
I was trying to. He kept running into the room and he kept poking me, and then he'd run off, right? And poke me and run off. And then like the 5th time they came in and did it, I just picked Metroplex up and I just swung it.
Fuck,
and I didn't know where he was, but I caught him right as he was coming in at me. I caught him square in the face, and I fucking. I can't remember.
Bro.
Like I remember there was blood all over
bleeding.
His face. Yeah, he was bleeding all over.
Oh my god!
So
I know the episode. I know the name of this episode now.
But
blood covered Metroplex.
Yeah, it was, but it ended up breaking the two legs off of the torso. And I was like, oh my god. And then he was crying, and then I was crying, and then it was a whole thing. But
Holy shit,
I
dude.
think Metroplex was probably the one that I played with a bunch, right? Because there was so much you could do with Metroplex with all the other figures, right? And the
Yeah.
Scamper and
And
Six Shot.
the Voltron box set that I had, that was another one. It was the same thing.
Damn, I never had
Yeah,
that.
with all the different lines in that. Yeah, that'd be
It had
cool.
all the different lines, and it had all the villains. Paladins,
yeah.
It was like a huge box that had all.
God damn.
Yeah. Oh, and the what do you call it? The guns on Metroplex, right? They actually fired the rockets. That was the other thing. I was like chicken, right? And I was always losing them, right? Like, fuck.
That's one of my favorite things about third party is they'll give us
them.
the spring loaded stuff that we can't get anymore.
Yeah. If it's official, it's got like extra long things, so it doesn't work right. And so if you can trim it down, you can make it work proper. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna go with Metroplex.
In my case, I don't actually know, because like if it was an early toy that I played with and like kept playing with forever,
probably didn't survive.
No, because like I said, I usually kept track of my stuff. But I held on to a lot of that stuff like forever. Like that mask truck I was talking about, I had that forever. Like I never got rid of it. Like I think my mom eventually got rid of it, but or yard sale or something after I moved out. But like I never got rid of that stuff. So like I had all of those toys like for the longest time. I had the old Fisher Price football toy bin basically, and like all my stuff just was in that I didn't care that much about Hot Wheels and stuff like that. But I guess like some of the earliest Hot Wheels I had, I played with like forever. Like Rusty mentioned Hot Wheels earlier, and like I had those. Like I remember I had the old Corvette split window coupe, like the Stingray split window. I had that forever. Like, and the thing is, I don't know if other kids really, you guys had a lot more Transformers than I did. Like I would play with my Hot Wheels and pretend they were the Transformers characters and have stand them up
stuck in car mode.
No, I would stand them up and act like they were the robot. Like
you would go bottom.
I would go bottom.
Go bottom.
But like I would do, so like I never had like I said I had just a literal handful of Transformers. I had Scoop. Is that his name? The orange bulldozer. Was it Scoop? And he had his weapons masters with him. The blue and yellow weapon masters.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I had that one. Don't remember ever getting it. I know I had it. It wasn't until way later I got the G2 Sideswipe. Was like my first real Transformer, quote unquote, as a older kid. And it was a choice between that
was the black
Lamborghini.
Right?
Yeah. So it was with the green numbers on the side. And it was a choice between, and I always regret this now, like the choice between that and G2 Jazz. I really wanted the G2 Jazz, and like
with the music notes,
and like the more rainbow colors, not the original martini colors. But then like I really liked the Porsche, but it was a Lamborghini, so I was like, fuck. It's like, but like, and I remember there was the Walmart in Porter. Is where it was at, and they had them on a, like not a real toy aisle. It was almost like an end cap or a side cap of the toy aisle. It was weird, and it was one of the old brown Walmarts. You'll remember when every Walmart the outside was brown with the white lettering.
Yep.
And I remember I had them both in hand, and my dad rushed me, and I grabbed Sideswipe instead. And I know I played with that Sideswipe forever. I had it for a long time. Eventually, it did break on me.
It's still the better choice.
Because I still wanted the Jazz, and I wanted to go back the next week to get it when I had more money, because it was my allowance at this point. You know, with little help from Dad. You know, it's like, you know, here's $5 more. You know, get the thing. I don't even know how much it was back then. Probably like $12 or something. And I wanted to go back and get it. Never fucking got it. Like it's okay. So hold on, let me bring that up. And I know I've mentioned this before on other podcasts and stuff like that. So you know, Rusty's Fans Toys rage about the lack of combiner.
Rage.
Yes, I never got to complete my G2 Devastator set because I never could find the yellow ones.
Yeah,
I had 5 of them, and I never had Hook. So I literally could never even come close to making a Devastator. I could just have legs and some arms. It wasn't until the Walmart reissue that I finally got to have a G1 type Devastator complete.
G2.
Well, no, I'm saying that was the G1. They didn't do G2 till later.
Oh.
But I said I never had that bought in its complete form until I was in my fucking late 30s. You know, it's like,
Wow.
because like that was the one that got away, and I'm like, oh fuck you, I'm getting this, even at the Walmart price, you know. But yeah, this is a lot of those G1 toys. That's why I started buying those reissues, and then I gave up real quick because of the price.
Those things are
Fuck,
expensive
dude, they want
for what they are.
$50 for fucking hot rod, like by itself. The Soundwave, I never got that one, but I should have. That one sold easy. The Soundwave sold so fucking fast. I got the
Soundwave.
Starscream.
He's the best.
Yeah, I got the Starscream. I got the Devastator. I got the other one. And by the way, I do still have my friend Leo's G1 Perceptor and G1 shit, what's the other one? Oh no, yeah, G1 Grimlock. So
Nice.
he for whatever reason he brought those over when we were drinking one day and he just left them. It's like, well, they've been with me for like 5 years. Those are mine now. It's like, but like the Perceptor's broken. Like the hinge for the the microscope part is actually broken. You know, where it swing from side to side over the shoulder. So that broke while just chilling. So they were okay shape. He said he found them at his mom's house, and he's like, hey, I know you like
And
Transformers.
Grimlock's dinosaur head's got to be floppy.
It's a
I was
little
like,
floppy.
that in the chest.
Yeah, the stickers aren't great on it, but it's here somewhere. It's somewhere in the mess of storage shit. Because some of these places I've still got boxes of other things that I don't have out on display. But the funny thing is, I ended up selling those G1 reissues to my buddy Anthony because he wanted some in his collection, and I sold to him for under what Walmart sold him, but not that much under. And
All right, I gotta bounce y'all.
Yeah, Ricky gotta go.
Later,
Okay,
man.
bye.
Yep, we'll go for only a little bit
Shaun,
longer.
send me the rest of these questions, man. I like this shit.
Okay.
I mean, we could always go again on another day.
Yeah, we could do a part 2.
We could do like a once a month. We could do like a once a month. Sean interviews us, like completely different podcast.
Because I do have so the last questions are kind of big discussion. There's 2 more really, but they're big discussion that lead into a lot of different things.
Okay.
And I think we need to save those for another time.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's save them because we're already at 3 hours.
I like it.
We're already at 3 hours, so let's just wrap it up. We'll do some quick promos. So, of course, guys, thanks for listening. And, of course, if you want to send us questions, much like Shaun has, you can do so at the NowYouMadeItAwkwardMail at gmail.com, which is in the description, so you can just copy and paste it, so you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. And, of course, you can follow me at all the SHOKY-related things, and, of course, support this channel and all the rest of them on the SHOKY Patreon, where you could watch the video part of this, where we could watch SHOKY and Shaun's screens blinking green every now and then. For no reason. And so there's that. And of course, you can follow Ricky's work for Nerd Rage Radio on the Nerd Rage Facebooks, where he makes their promos on a weekly basis. So you can go check that out. And also catch up with him and the other guys from the Realm Hatton Project on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Usually. I say usually now because sometimes there's glitches, but usually. And then, of course,
9 p.m.-ish.
And then over damn it, I knew if I picked the wrong direction. Then we have a Rusty over there. You can go follow him at the Rusty Mechanic link down below now. The new link that looks like the old link, therefore it's confusing. So I'm just going to copy and paste the links you sent me instead of trying to adjust it later.
Just delete the Rusty Mechanic link and you're fine.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Just delete them.
I'll just delete it entirely. And then of course Shaun up there. You can follow what is it? Shaun Diesel's Body Shop on Facebook. Used to have it in the links, but deleted it a long time ago because he wasn't a part of the show.
You can follow him on his OnlyFans.
And by the way, guys, so this experience you have had with us here today is usually how our chat goes, where Shaun just throws questions at us and we answer him there, and then we don't talk about it on the fucking podcast.
Correction. I answer him there. Shoki gets mad, says, this would be great for a podcast.
And I was right. And I've been right, as we've experienced today. So it's like, so either way, I think once a month at least we'll come back to Shaun running the show, basically, instead of just us doing pop culture normal shit. So either way, if you like it, do the thumbs up thing. Please subscribe. We need more subscribers, and rate us on whatever thing you're watching us or listening to us on.
You gotta show off your toy deco, man.
Oh yeah,
on video.
Yeah.
Yeah, only the Patreon people get to see it, but I think it is awesome.
Or anybody who follows him on Facebook can see it. Yep. I love how he just.
So for everybody, that's a Fans Toy Cyclonus that he tore down to parts.
I'll put it on the big screen. There we go.
And repainted into the toy deco. I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, he copied the new. Have you tagged? You need to tag New Age in the post, so that New Age and Fans Toys in that.
I haven't posted it yet.
Oh, you posted the
going
other one. You
to.
posted the Starscream.
Yeah. That's because I've got another one that's going on right now, and I didn't want to post that one, and that guy get upset about, well, how come mine's not done yet?
Because shut up. That's why.
Yeah, because fuck off. You want me to send you your toy
Right
back, you
up.
piece of
Oh,
shit?
is that the black one? That black and teal one?
Yeah, the black and
Oh, well,
turquoise one.
Yeah, well, tell them there was a shortage on paint, and you just happen to have lots of purple laying around.
Yeah.
So, either way, guys, we'll catch y'all next week.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye. Gotta remember it.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats.